Today I'm going to share with you how we added the shiplap to our electric fireplace wall build out. If you would like to see how we built that frame out, please like and subscribe because we'll be adding that to our channel soon. To add the shiplap, we used primarily a brad nailer. We used some plastic wood to fill in some wood grain areas that I'll share with you later on in the video. We used a circular saw and a jigsaw. We also used a miter saw to make the end cuts. You could actually use a hand saw if you don't own a miter saw. We decided to invest in a miter saw because we have a lot of upcoming projects that we will be doing, so it's definitely going to be worth the money we spent on it. The first shiplap board is the most important board. Once you get that board completely level, all subsequent boards should install completely level. We did get out the level and check periodically just to be sure everything was going smoothly, and for the most part it definitely was. We chose not to start our first board on the floor because we're going to put a baseboard trim around the bottom that matches our current baseboards for a more built-in look. So what we did is we measured from the floor to the ceiling, and that's how we determined how far off the ground to mount the first shiplap board. We also decided that we wanted a more modern, clean lined look, no exposed nail heads, and we really didn't want to spend the time filling all of the nail holes. Since we're new to this, we didn't know how that would work, so we decided to only use the brad nailer in the groove portion of the shiplap. So when you put the next piece, it completely covers it. And this turned out exceptionally well for us. If you don't want exposed nails, I would highly recommend doing it this way. In this next clip, you'll see how when we place the shiplap board on top of the bottom board, how those brad nail holes completely disappear. And that's exactly what we wanted. You can also see here how we originally decided to go with mitered corners and no trim, but after the first cut we decided that was not worth the time and effort, so everything else we just cut straight. Around the fireplace we used a jigsaw, and since the fireplace has a 1/4 inch trim, we didn't have to worry about getting that too precise, which was a big time saver as well. And here you can see how we used our clamps to hold the shiplap board in place while nailing it in. Just a peek behind the fireplace after the shiplap went in. And here's a look at our straight cuts, which again were so much easier to cut, such a huge time saver. I didn't think I would like the corner side trim, but in the end I ended up still really loving it, and I'll share with you in a little bit what we used on that side trim. And you can see how absolutely clean all of these boards look because we hid the brad nails. There were a few that were a little loose, so since we decided to use the trim on the corners, we did add some brad nails for extra bracing on some that did seem to be a little loose. Not many of them though. As you can see, it's just a totally clean look and I love it so much. And you can see here what it looks like on the bottom with the miter cut, if that's the look that you end up wanting to go with. It's beautiful, we just didn't think it was worth the time. And for our electrical outlets, we just took the outlet, traced it with a pen, drilled a circle with a drill bit, and then we used a jigsaw in this pattern in order to cut out a rectangle. And you can see that it's all starting to come together really well. That long black section in the middle holds our soundbar and our Roku. If you want to see how we did that, you can check out our framing video. So this is our TV mount. what we're doing here is we are pre-drilling the holes. So that way, after the shiplap is all pretty and painted, we don't have to mess around with the TV mount trying to figure out where to put it and potentially scratch it up. And this is what it looks like after we remove the mount. So we're just going to paint over that and the holes stay beautifully. And you can see that we are almost done. For the final piece of shiplap board, what we did is we measured it to the ceiling and put a 2x4 to act as a guide. It doesn't need to be too straight because we are putting a trim piece at the top, and cut it with a circular saw. The trim piece we're using at the top is actually an MDF baseboard. We wanted something that would match our existing baseboard, so that's what we went with. In this next clip, you'll see this handy trick my husband came up with to hold the trim piece up. He used two 2x4s and positioned them within our grout lines to hold the trim up so he could nail it into place. This is the trim that I chose to use where the shiplap meets the wall. I got it because it was thin. I thought it was going to be great. At the end, once we painted it, it showed a lot of wood grain, and I do not like it, so I will not recommend using this. I should have just left shiplap to the wall because it actually looked pretty nice without the trim. This is what we used for the corner trim. It's actually PVC. At first I wasn't so sure because I thought it looked like plastic and it wasn't gonna look nice, but once it's painted it looks just like wood. It was perfect. They actually have a PVC that I could have used for the trim against the wall instead of this wood. I wish I had done that, but I didn't. This is showing you how the nail holes fill in the PVC, because we did have to put nail holes on the sides rather than the front of the fireplace to hold the trim piece in place. And now it is time for paint. We will talk about this wood trim around our soundbar area a little bit later in the video. We put a base of painter's tape around the top, the bottom, and the sides, and then we added our painter's plastic to that after the fact. We also covered all of our outlets with blue tape. We chose to use a paint sprayer to paint the shiplap. This process made it to where there was no brush marks or roller marks, and it made the painting process go actually very quickly. We did one coat, we let it dry for about an hour and a half, and then we did a second coat after that. So I wanted to add that we did not put down enough painter's plastic or drop cloths. We should have done a lot more or boxed an area in, because we ended up with paint particles, more like a dust. It wiped right off. It cleaned off very easily, but it was all over my kitchen. And after a long day of doing this, cleaning your kitchen or other areas of your home is the last thing that you want to do. So I would highly recommend covering everything up, not just the 3 feet like we did here. I'm glad we covered up the couches, but it was all over my island, so definitely cover everything up. But even with covering everything up, using a paint sprayer is better. Here you can see that dust that I was referencing. And here it is, all painted and beautiful. So let's talk about that wood trim. It left a very bad wood grain. Some people might love wood grain, but a flat, modern look is what I was personally going for. So I didn't want to ruin the paint job, so I just covered it with plastic wood, sanded it, and then rolled it with a roller. And here is what it looks like after the second coat of paint. You can't see any nail holes. I love it a lot. First time using a paint sprayer, we got a little bit of overspray. It doesn't bother me that much. It gives it a little more character, I guess. We did use a satin finish paint. As you can see, the PVC trim blends very nicely with the real wood shiplap that we have. You can't tell that it's PVC at all. The trim that meets the back wall, we should have put caulking on that and painted, but we did not do that. That's something that we are going to do here in the near future. In this clip coming up, you'll see how it has a little bit of gapping, and we didn't realize it would have the gapping until after the second coat of paint. But we just wanted to be done for the day, and we will add caulking later. Okay, let's talk cost. For just the shiplap, no fireplace, no frame, the shiplap itself was $250. To trim out the shiplap areas was $50. Paint and filler was $45. Our wall size is noted here so you can get an idea of the size of ours versus the cost of ours. We decided that real shiplap was the way to go for us, so we didn't want to take the extra time for the DIY plywood version. So we spent the extra $200 and did regular shiplap, and we're very glad that we chose to do this because it made this end process of our fireplace build out so much easier. And here is what it looks like when it is all done. We will be adding a mantle underneath of the TV. If you want to see our build video on that, be sure to like and subscribe so you'll get notified when we do post that here on our channel. Also, if you'd like to see how we built out the frame for it, we'll be posting a video on that soon, so subscribe. Thanks.